Welcome to Sexy in Your 60s. This is a space for women 50 and beyond who are choosing to live with vitality, intention, and joy in this chapter of life and the ones ahead of us. I'm your host, Devora Citron, registered nurse, National Board Certified Health and Wellbeing Coach, and Plant Strong advocate. On this podcast, we explore what truly helps women thrive in midlife and beyond through evidence-based health insights, real stories, practical strategies, and the deeper sense of meaning that makes life feel rich and connected. I intentionally chose the title, Sexy in Your 60s. When I use the word sexy, I'm not talking about sexuality or how we're seen. I'm talking about energy, confidence, presence, curiosity, purpose. Sexy is how you feel in your body. Sexy is how you move through the world. Sexy is knowing who you are and choosing how you want to show up. I believe this stage of life isn't about winding down. It's about waking up. Not in your 60s? You're still invited to join us. Each episode is designed to support you not just in how you live, but in how you feel in your body, your relationships, and your life. I'm so glad you're here. Let's begin. Welcome. I want to start today with a question that keeps evolving for me. What does sexy mean to you now in this season of life? Because for me, sexy has less and less to do about how things look and much more to do with how they feel. How at home you feel in your body, how steady you feel in yourself, and how willing you are to stay engaged with your life as it changes. Today's conversation really lives in that place. I'm joined by Dana Kramer. Dana has spent more than 45 years in the fitness world and holds certifications through the American College of Sports Medicine and the American Council on Exercise, along with comprehensive Pilates training across mat and apparatus. She's fully capable of teaching at advanced levels, but her deepest commitment is to beginners, women over 60, and people rebuilding strength after injury or surgery. In recent years, Dana's life has shifted in meaningful ways. After becoming a widow, she found herself in a new season, one that brought loss, but also an unexpected kind of freedom. Freedom to travel, to explore, and to shape her days differently. Movement for Dana isn't just a profession. It's been one of the ways she's stayed grounded and oriented through that transition. What you'll hear in this conversation is a deep respect for the aging body, not as something to manage or fix, but as something to stay in relationship with. Dana's approach is calm, practical, and rooted in the belief that strength and confidence are still available, even when the body asks for something different than it once did. The conversation reflects the heart of the work I care about most, supporting women in staying connected to themselves as they age, in their bodies, their choices, and the lives they're actively living. I'm glad you're here for it. Dana, before we get into specifics, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor for me.
I want to zoom out for a moment because this isn't just a conversation about fitness. It's about how we keep choosing ourselves as life shifts. And I'd like to start with just a little context of how that's looked for you most recently.
Wow. Well, of course, being a widow was a huge life-changing event for me. So much of my life was shared with my partner, how I looked at every day, how I looked at every evening, how I looked at every day, week, and month. All of a sudden, as they say, there was this big hole. One of the most beautiful things I heard from friends and people who were supporting me was that hole never fills up. You just build a whole new life around it. That's been the transition for me. Literally waking up every single morning and saying, wow, I don't have to answer to anyone but myself, which was life-changing. As I've always said, I would give anything to have another minute with my husband, but this new life is something challenging and exciting for me. Very exciting.
Thank you for that. I'm going to pivot to our fitness questions right now. You've
Mhm.
worked in fitness for over 4 decades. You were one of the aerobics pioneers and definitely a Pilates pioneer. Dana, what do we know and understand now about aging bodies that you wish women had known sooner?
I would say the most important thing is our emphasis on forward flexion. Everything that we do, we sit at a computer, we talk on the phone, we talk to our kids, everything is in forward flexion. We're always closing off the front of our body. As you see women age, you see the changes in their spine. If I'd known earlier to open up, not just open up my muscles, which the front is getting shorter and tighter and the back is having a more difficult time as it lengthens to support the spine and the body. It just also changes your attitude. When you stand taller, you feel better about yourself. Posture is the thing that I would be drilling into my 20 and 30-year-old self. You look at dancers and this beautiful length to their body, whether they're having a good day or a bad day, we could never tell because their body suggests confidence and strength. If I could go back to my younger me, I would say, stop slouching, but not just to stop slouching. Think about strengthening that upper back and opening your heart center, opening up the front of your body.
I know one of the results you get with your clients when you do Pilates work is that you're able to help improve their posture. I also am reminded of your training as a yoga teacher when you just said heart center.
Yoga came to me much later. I would sit there in yoga class in Warrior Two going, come on, I have places to go, people to see. And what do you mean I have to sit still for Shavasana? My body wasn't ready for it. It wasn't until about my mid-50s. One day I took class with my sister-in-law, who's this beautiful instructor inside and out. I got there and my body went, yes, this is what you need. I think it's so wonderful to keep incorporating new things that you maybe were resistant to earlier.
One of the things I do is I use affirmations, and I also work with people to use affirmations. So for myself, recently, because I've been recovering from my spinal surgery and really working hard on building muscle, my affirmation is, I have strong muscles and bones. And when I say that to myself, I stand up straighter. So that brings me to this issue of strength training. There's a lot of fear around strength training for people after 60. I know some of that might have to do with those of us who have a diagnosis of osteopenia or osteoporosis. Do you have information or feedback on what evidence tells us that's actually safe, what's essential? Can you speak to that?
Yes, you can gain muscle strength in your 60s, your 70s, and your 80s. And I think that's really important for people to understand that the muscle protein synthesis will respond. It's not necessarily about looking stronger and more fit. It's about capability and independence. That's what's crucial. It can help with our glucose and insulin sensitivity. It can lessen our risk for falls. It can help with our bone density. I understand that people are afraid, especially if they get that osteoporosis or osteopenia diagnosis. What's important to remember is baby steps. In order for strength training to be really efficient and effective, you need to have larger weights. So you need to keep increasing that weight and that resistance, whether it's resistance bands or machines or your own body weight, which is a fabulous form of resistance. I get that people are afraid and they're scared. When you think about strength training, you have to think of this is where we start. And this is where we go. And this is where we go. And this. It has to be done in short increments. It really does. How to start? I tell people all the time, Go get a soup can or something like that if you don't have weights at home. That's square one. But literally taking a soup can and using that, putting it on your shoulders and squatting a little bit. There's so many ways to be efficient without having to be in a strength training class or have to be on the reformer or on the Nautilus equipment. People are afraid of it because they're afraid to move, but you do yourself so much more damage by not moving. My rheumatologist said to me, motion is lotion. And it's so true. Just gentle ranges of motion are important in our strength training to slowly work your way there. There's no one to keep up with. There's no finish line. Consistency is the most important part there. Even walking out the door in your tennis shoes, that pounding of your body weight is a good way to start making your muscles grow stronger. The most important thing is to take tiny bites, tiny bites. Do it with supervision, especially as we age. Investing in 1 or 2 private to get a foundation will give you a way to get started on this road and this journey.
I love motion is lotion. Most of us are familiar with movement is medicine, but I think we have to follow that with motion is lotion.
We all wake up in the morning and our bodies are talking to us. My body talks to me every day and has for years and years and years. And we have to listen, not just, "Oi, this hurts." We have to listen to what's going on and where is it coming from. And we need to give those areas TLC.
You alluded to the fact that our own body weight can be used as strength training. I know that's a core concept, no pun intended, core concept of Pilates. Sometimes Pilates can be seen as a more gentle form of exercise, but from a functional standpoint, what does Pilates uniquely offer us as aging bodies?
You say the word core and it's thrown around all the time. And I want people to understand that your core is literally like the tree trunk of your body. It doesn't mean that you have to do just sit-ups or just planks or just roll downs. So your core is your front and your back. In Pilates, every single motion that we do begins with engaging the core. That doesn't mean, I'm gonna suck in my stomach. It is a realization that your breath is preparation. And with your breath, you naturally expand your rib cage and your abdomen, but then comes the contraction, then comes the tightening in. In Pilates, the emphasis is about, let's start from that strong tree trunk. If your tree trunk is strong, then your motions can flow. If your tree trunk isn't, then you're going to sway and you're going to move. So whether it is mat work or whether it's equipment work, my equipment, some of it's right behind me. Everything starts with that foundation of engaging. It becomes secondary to you, it becomes an automatic response to you, like you're on autopilot. When you go walk out the door or you go to reach for something, you've engaged your tree trunk. That supports you with everyday life. Fitness is defined as performing your daily functions pain-free. How many of us can say that happens in our life in these later years? It's not always pain-free. It doesn't mean we have to be at our top fitness level all the time. You should be able to move and you should be able to rotate and adapt with a little less pain. That's only going to happen if you start from the center with your trunk. I always say, Pilates is the trunk of our existence. It truly is.
You work with a lot of clients who've just had surgery or injuries in a post-rehab situation. What matters most for those kind of clients? What matters more than intensity?
Oh, I love that. Consistency. Consistency. People say to me, how many days a week should I work out? I say, well, 1 is better than 0, and 2 is better than 1, and 3 is fabulous. 4 and 5 can get questionable depending on, are you doing too much and overuse, or are you having variety in your workout? Consistency is hugely important. I have a client who has dealt with obesity issues for years. Because of that, the stress on her joints has been just horrendous. This morning, she had this major breakthrough in exercise, and I said, what do you think the reasoning is for this? And she says, I've been here. And it's true. She's been consistent.
You mean she's been showing up?
Yes, exactly. She's been showing up. And I've said to her, every day is different. When I have a client that comes in the door, I have this whole workout in my head, but then she or he comes in and says, oh, I slept bad last night and my shoulder hurts, or this cold weather is affecting my knees and my back. You have to be able to adapt to every day. As a trainer, we can do that, but you also have to give yourself some grace and adapt. There are days when you're playing with your grandchildren. The next day, wow, my body is tired from getting up and down from that floor. It's about the consistent movement. In that movement, what's so essential is range of motion. When I deal with someone who's coming off of an injury, they're like this. They're guarded. They're so protected. The first thing you have to do is get their body to relax. I have to get their body to relax by gentle breath, by slowly building those ranges of motion until we're really right there on top of whatever rehabilitating. I want to make perfectly clear that I am not a physical therapist. So when I talk about rehabilitation, I'm after you leave that physical therapist. This is what you're going to do for the rest of your days. The other thing is be adaptable to change, because as our body changes, we have to adapt to that. I can't do a lot of the things I did in my 30s and 40s, maybe even my 50s now. As I'm approaching 70, I'm finding changes all the time. I embrace the change and find a different way to do things, but I'm still consistently moving.
What I'm hearing you say is that there's just this range of acknowledgement and acceptance. There's getting to the point where you realize, hey, I can do this because you've been showing up and you're seeing progress and you're seeing strengthening and you're building your confidence. Then there's also paying attention to how am I right now in the present moment and what's the right thing for me.
Yes, listening to your body, because it will talk to you, is very, very important. That doesn't mean, oh, this hurts, so I'm going to just hold it close to my body, not do anything with it today. It may mean that you need a little heat. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis 4 years ago now, which was shocking to me as someone who has always been in good shape and always done all the right things. But guess what? Our genetics come into play. There's so many things going on. I get up in the morning and my hands and feet belong to a 95-year-old. I get in that shower every single morning and I just let the heat start to let me move and start to go. And then I'm ready to tackle the day. I'm a firm believer in whatever that is for you, whether that's a jacuzzi, whether that's lying in bed and breathing and bringing your knees to your center. To expect to get up and just go at our age is not realistic. So let's give ourselves some grace and be realistic about it.
That's a big deal that you were diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis for somebody who is a fitness professional. What do you see happen for people when they have this realization that they say to themselves, I can do this? And did you notice that also for yourself?
When I'm dealing in rehabilitation situations, seeing an increased range of motion, if you've got someone with a shoulder who was afraid to go up here and then you're working, you're slowly to get there, it's like an epiphany. It makes us feel young. You make me feel so young. It really does. As we say, youth is wasted on the young. Anything that makes us feel more vital, that's what happens. Instead of seeing yourself as aging and a victim, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to look at it differently. My father used to say to me that if you stop accepting change and you stop learning, you start dying. I don't want to die soon. It's eventual for all of us. I remember that I have to work all the muscles of my body, especially my heart muscle with cardiovascular activity, but I have to work my brain, and that changes my attitude. And it all starts with how do you get out of bed each day and what's your attitude? We're not all going to spring out happy and wonderful. We're going to have some crummy days. So go back to your basics. How do I start that day? For me, I get in that hot shower and then I come in and I start gentle stretches. Everyone has to find that spot that gives them that burst that gives them, hey, I'm doing okay today.
What you're really talking about is a mindset. You have found a really positive mindset that works for you, and you need that present. You need to access that every day to move forward with the physical.
There are plenty of days it's hard to do on your own. That's why our connections with other people, whether it's going on a walk or whether it's meeting someone at the gym or if it's just sitting outside and hanging out, you're just outside and enjoying and taking some deep breaths, that's important. When you have someone to play with, to work out with, to walk with, you're accountable. When you're accountable to somebody else, it's harder to cop out. It's harder to say, oh, I'm just not going to do it today. So there is a lot to be said for that, too, making sure you have people to do it with. I'm starting to do things like play mahjong, sit down and play a game for a couple of hours. That's not like me to sit still for that long, but it's very important to feed myself companionship and brain activity. They laugh because I go, okay, you guys, we've been sitting here for an hour and a half. Come on, let's get up, put your hands on the chair, let's wiggle. And they get such a kick out of it. And we don't go home feeling like we sat for 3 hours. One of the things that I've really learned being a widow is that I do have a silver linings attitude. I definitely try to find the good in people, the good in a situation. I'm looking for the silver linings. And some days they're pretty hard to find, especially when I first started this new chapter. But if I can't find it myself, maybe my girlfriend helps me find it.
So that gives me the opportunity to just pivot us a little bit and ask you, as a widow with a large family and a large social circle, how has movement supported you through grief, change, and even continuity?
My husband was in the hospital for 3 months and I was there 10, 12 hours a day. That was the first time in my life that I wasn't truly moving every day. I would wake up and fit in a couple stretches, fit in a couple core exercises, and I was out the door. Actually, my physician said to me, go get on a scale and go look in the mirror naked. I didn't even realize I had lost like 15 pounds, which was pretty scary. I realized that without the movement in my life, I become a shell. There's no spark, there's no silver lining, there's not that much going on inside. So I decided to try and ask for help, which was very tough to do. I think we all go through this, all of us nurturing mamas. Ask for help so that I could get away from the hospital for an hour at a time and either walk outside, or sometimes I could get to a pool or do something. It literally became my lifeline. Then as I was processing, still am processing the grief of being alone, it's the mood changer. It's how I get centered again. It's how I push away the negative thoughts and push away the stress in my body. We carry so much in our body that we don't even know of until we have to release it. And for women, we carry a lot in our pelvis. I think it's all in our shoulders and our neck, but we carry a lot in our pelvis. It's the center of our being. We create life there. And with that, which stresses our hips, our spine, our knee, everything. The movement for me becomes the release of not just stress, it's a mind release as well. The emphasis of yoga and Pilates, the mind-body connection, is we have to really be intentional about what we do, because our body talks to us. If we don't listen or if we don't pay heed to it, it's going to catch up with us. It also adds schedule to my day. All of a sudden, I have a lot more empty time that I shared with a partner. Having the schedule, I still teach some classes and do training. Having that schedule makes my days not seem so long. Because there are plenty of afternoons where I go, oh my God, it's 3 o'clock. I have nothing going all day, all night. What can I do? Well, let's go out and see what's happening outside. I don't want to sit in my apartment by myself. So movement is what gets me out of the funk.
You said so many rich things. It gives structure to your day. You were feeling, where is that structure now that it's just me? You spoke to this when you said letting go of controlling everything when you have to ask for help. It's very scary to acknowledge that you need to ask for help if you're not used to asking for help. It's this loss of control that you might have been clinging to your whole life. And we're not really taught how to make that transition emotionally. What you brought up is using movement. Everybody knows the term runner's high. Movement actually creates these chemicals in your brain to make you feel better and to make you heal. When you intentionally put movement into your life, it helps support all those things. It's great to be intentional, but it also just helps you move forward.
Yes. Along the lines also for asking for help is knowing what to ask for. I almost didn't even know what I needed. And I had a girlfriend who came and stayed with me and said, you need to not make any more decisions today. You need to have dinner waiting for you. All of these little things, but I didn't even know how to ask for help. And so I learned to say, I'm not sure what I need. Do you have a suggestion? Because sometimes someone on the outside can give you that perspective that you can't see and say, this is what you need, but these are the things that need to have to happen. That is really important to acknowledge also. Like, you might not know how to ask for help and you might not know what kind of help you need. That's first of all. The other thing is that this freedom has been unbelievable to me. As we talked about before, Devora, you and I, all of a sudden I can pick up and go and travel, and I'm very, very fortunate to have the means to travel. But my husband left me a huge legacy. We had 2 children of our own, plus 4 additional. So I have 6 children, blah, blah, all the way to great-grandchildren. I know I look too young to have great-grandchildren, but I was blessed with that. And that fills my days because I make an effort to stay connected. And it takes effort. And obviously, as we age, we become more isolated very quickly. You don't want to lose that independence. You don't want to feel isolated, but being able to go and travel. I have children who have children, so it's easier for one person to travel to them than for the 5 of them to come to me. If my daughter says, Mom, can you? I'm on the plane. Travel is not easy on your body. It's not. That's why I'm trying to do all my long distance traveling now while I'm young and feel healthy. I think I'm going to be doing it for a long time. But if you don't move, you slowly isolate and you lose independence because you need someone to help you. That's a different kind of help that we try to ward off. And it happens quickly. One fall, one injury, one surgery, it happens quickly. So getting back to my job in helping someone rehabilitate after therapy, there's a lot of mental that needs to go into that. It's not just the physical exercise.
That's perfect timing for asking you, when you have a woman in her 60s, or could be a little younger, a little older, come to you and either had to have some kind of break from movement for surgery or some reason, or hadn't been moving, and comes to you and says, I just don't even know where to start. What's your first way you guide that woman?
First of all, I talk about breath because they don't even know they're holding their breath. They're scared, they're worried, so they don't even know they're holding their breaths. I can just breathe with someone for a minute and you see their whole body and their whole demeanor change. So you start there. The second thing is that I think that everybody today sees all these things, whether it's on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, whatever it is, they see all of these ways to exercise. I love beginners. The reason I love beginners is because I'm the queen of modification. I can find a way to make anything work. So when you're afraid of movement, you have to make a smaller space, and let's start with the movement within this space and within this space and with this space. I talk about those baby steps. It's not going to be resolved overnight. It's not going to be resolved over the next 3 days. I try to give people a plan of a 6 to 12 weeks. Let's just work on this for the next 6 weeks. Maybe it's just holding onto the chair or the wall and lifting that knee up and down. Listen, going down to the ground and getting back up is an exercise in our age group. Okay? There's an exercise. There's a million ways to do that. You don't just have to go over and get down on the ground with your grandchildren, get back up, whatever it is. Always breaking it down to the simplest motions possible and not getting complicated, not giving too many things to be done. The class I used to teach called Back to Basics, and it's assuming that we're starting at square one, not assuming that you've been doing this all your life and you should be able to. No, let's go back to square one. When you're at square one and you have success, you're ready to go to square two. And then you have success and you're ready. It's always breaking it down into baby steps, and it's modifications. If you don't know what that modification is, consult a professional.
I think that's so important. I'm still in physical therapy over 7 months after my spinal surgery. Actually, I graduated from physical therapy to strength training. I want to just validate the importance of working with a professional. One of the benefits is getting the external feedback. I'll go in and feel like I haven't made progress or enough progress, or my progress hasn't been fast enough. My physical therapist assesses my strength and my mobility and my flexibility each time I come in, and she's like, well, look how far you've come. Sometimes I can't see it, but it's really helpful to get that feedback periodically, at least.
I agree. I am recovering from shoulder surgery, which was supposed to be simple, and they got in there and found a tear in my rotator cuff, which turned into something completely different. I'm a fitness person. I should be snapping back. I should be doing this. And you find that sometimes you're not the best patient. Sometimes you know too much. I finally gave myself to the process and saw these improvements. In PT, as you know, they measure ranges of motion in degrees. And she's like, you just gained 7 degrees. What are you talking about? I did. You have to step outside yourself almost. I know all the motions. I know everything to do, and yet she'll still surprise me. And that is wonderful. That's about learning something new. That's about accepting the change. It was good for me to go through this surgery to better relate to what my students and my clients are going through. I agree with you. I realize that personal training can be expensive. It's an investment to make initially, maybe for a 2-week, 3-week, 6-week period. Check in once a month, because it's easy for us to get sloppy. I sometimes have to look in my own mirror and say, oh my God, Dana, where's your alignment here?
We talked about showing up. We talked about consistency being more important than intensity, although intensity can also be an important thing. In showing up, it's not that easy. We might not all have the luxury of working with someone formally that we pay for. One of the things I just started doing with a couple of friends of mine was we created this little accountability chat. We're telling each other when we do our weight workout. You can build in little ways of really what helps you rebuild trust in yourself and your body.
What's important to realize is as our bodies change over time, I think we have to look at the alternative. If I don't move, what's going to happen? Lack of independence. That is the biggest thing that's going to happen, because, oh, I can't open this jar. I can't reach this shelf. I can't go shopping by myself. I'm worried about my balance. When we get down on ourselves, or we're like, oh, I just can't move. Well, if you keep not moving, the alternative is you're going to move less and less and less. We're all afraid of being a burden to our children, our families, our friends. Like you said, to have some kind of accountability, to talk to each other is huge. It's so important, because we're not meant to go through life alone. We're meant to go through with someone holding our hands and giving us a hug and building us up. I just want to say one thing about intensity. You said before, strength work does have to increase over time, because the systems of your body get used to something and they don't have to work as hard, and it gets lazy. We do have to increase. It's not about becoming a bodybuilder. It's not about finding the toughest, the hardest. Oh my God, I sweat so much. Everybody sweats differently. Some people don't sweat. We have to stop comparing to something on social media or even our friends. We have to put ourselves here and say, I moved today. I move every single day. There are days that I work hard and there are days that I work very, very lightly. You have to say, it's okay. It's okay to do that.
Honoring yourself where you are in the moment.
Absolutely. Because your breath, that very first thing that we do, breathe, it's the foundation for everything. I mean, think about when you're angry or something and you just go, let me take a breath. We need to incorporate that into our days. The breath work, it's really important. And as I say, I've said to you before, Dora, I'm not very woo-woo. That's probably why I didn't think I would like yoga. But I found a different kind of peace in that and different kinds of affirmations that work for me. It's not a one-size-fits-all at all. It's very individualized. You can find that in a group. You can find that in personal.
Okay, Dana, it's not one size fits all, but can you think of one movement principle that translates no matter where you are, in a studio, at home, traveling, that can be helpful for us to think about and use?
Yes. As I said, start with breathing. I mean, literally start with breathing. But think of the limbs of your body. You've got 4, right? You've got 2 arms and 2 legs. So how do they work? Do they go up, they go down, they go back, they go forward, right? And just think about how your body works and just movement that goes from here up to here and around. And same thing with the leg all the way through. And then our torso leans forward and it leans backwards and it leans side to side. So if I sometimes just think about how does the body move? If we're standing, how does the body move? An arm reaches, an arm lowers, a leg lifts, it lowers, it rotates, my body turns. That could be 5-7 minutes, literally. Just think of your body, think of something with every part of your body. How does it work? And as you're doing that, listen to what it's telling you. Which part needs a little more TLC? Whether I'm standing waiting for friends, if I'm standing in a restaurant waiting, if I'm standing in a hotel room, if I'm in a gym, if in my studio here, wherever I am, I just think about, okay, I'm closing down. My posture is closing down. Everything's closing down. I'm tired. I'm fatigued. I'm getting lower. Pick up. What do I have to do to pick up? I have to engage my core. I have to pull my shoulder and just literally like a marionette, move the parts of your body. You don't need a gym. You don't need a mirror. You just need your breath and your ability to move.
I've been using affirmations and supporting other people in using affirmations, which I know they change your brain, but they also ground you and remind you. I mentioned the affirmation of I have strong muscles and bones. I heard on a podcast recently about how important strength training is for us as we age. So when we're embracing aging, one of the things to think about, like you said, when I find myself waiting, I started doing this a long time ago when I learned meditation formally. It was like, oh, waiting. Okay, this is when I can do breathing instead of getting angry that I had to sit in traffic. I heard someone talk about how when you're stronger as you age, then if you trip on a curb, you are better able to catch yourself and balance, and that strength in your core and your lower body is going to help prevent you from falling.
It's that tree trunk.
Mm-hmm.
The tree trunk allows you to do this without everything falling forward. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely true. I'm laughing because I think about when I get into a hotel room, I go over to the desk and I do a plank off the desk. There's a lot of things, but I wanted to keep it to at the beginning or basic level of where to get started again, because we start again and again and again. I always go back to breath. every single time. And the strength training, I think it's pretty hard for us to not hear about strength training these days. It's everywhere. But like you said, people don't know where to start. What do I do? How do I start incorporating it? Remember that your body, holding your body up every day, coming up on your toes, balancing, all of that is strength. All of that is strength of mind and strength of body. Even just controlling when we're driving in traffic is a part of strength. People say to me all the time, what is the best piece of equipment that I could have? I say, your tennis shoes and walking out the front door. When you walk out that front door, you start being conscious of your breath. You start being conscious of your range of motion. Honestly, we have enough right here to do everything. We're just really lucky that smart people like Joseph Pilates have come up with other ways to help. The reason that the Pilates equipment has become so popular with our aging population is because this equipment can be assistive or resistive. Think about that. It can help us maybe do some things that we aren't able to do on our own. And we'll also then do that same motion with some resistance, increasing our strength and endurance. It's important for people to understand, like, what is this? I have worked with elderly people with spinal stenosis and all kinds of replacements of every joint of the body. I've worked with professional athletes on it, and I've actually worked with children with disabilities. There is a path for everyone.
You talked so beautifully about what's important for us women as we're aging to think about in terms of our relationship with movement and how that changes. As we're getting close to wrapping up, Dana, what would you want women to know about the freedom that can come with this stage of life?
It's a really good question. I think that some kind of structure is essential with freedom. Yes, we might not be going to jobs, we might not be taking care of kids, we might even be on our own. Movement gives structure to freedom. And whether that movement is traveling on an airplane to all parts of the world, or on a train, or in a car, or just meeting friends and stopping the isolation and getting out and walking somewhere, whether it's even walking through a museum, whatever it is, as we look at freedom, we have a lot of time in freedom. It's a lot of time to fill. It's funny, as we're young, time goes so slow. As we're older, time goes by quickly, but sometimes our days and nights can be very long. Looking at a 5-hour time period, I don't want to spend 3 hours on the computer, or 3 hours in front of the TV, or even 3 hours just sitting there reading. I want to know that within that time period, I have done some kind of movement. We have so many ways to keep track of it these days, with our watches, with our rings and all that. I use my watch just to look at the time that I do something. I'm not looking, how far did I go? How fast did I go? I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the time. I want to have consistent movement for 45 minutes or 30 minutes. Or if you can't do that, a burst of 10 minutes here, and a burst of 10 minutes there, and a burst of 10 minutes there. Freedom gives us a lot of time. How do we feel that time? Movement has to be a big part of that.
Final question I ask everybody. In this season of life, what does sexy mean to you?
Sexy means confident, comfortable in my own skin. That's what sexy means to me. I feel my best when I am comfortable in my own skin. That is a huge benefit of aging. We put aside the things we worried about so much and obsessed over, and say, this skin, as flappy and as wrinkled as I say, the little Shar-Pei around my knees now, that wrinkled skin, I'm so comfortable with that, because fit at my age is not necessarily looking fit, it's looking capable. Capable. Comfortable in my own skin. That's what's super sexy to me.
Dana, thank you for this conversation and for the steadiness and generosity that you bring to this work. What stays with me is clearly how you model a different relationship with the body, one rooted in trust, patience, and respect. Not pushing, not proving, but staying engaged, especially as life changes and especially after loss. That way of relating feels deeply important. For women listening who may be navigating aging, recovery, or a new season they didn't expect, I hope this conversation offered something grounding. A reminder that strength doesn't have to look dramatic to be real, and that movement can be a way of staying oriented to yourself when so much else feels uncertain. You're allowed to move at your own pace. You're allowed to redefine what strength looks like, and you're allowed to choose yourself again and again. Thank you for listening and for spending time with us.
It was a pleasure for me.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us. If today's conversation resonated with you, I invite you to take the next gentle step by downloading the Sexy in Your 60s Starter Guide, a free resource designed to help you reflect on what supports your energy, vitality, and sense of connection in this season of life. You'll find it linked in the show notes or at slant2plants.com/starter-guide. You can also explore more of my work, including health coaching, plant-forward nutrition, and resources for vibrant living at slant2plants.com. And for the ultimate transformation, join the Sexy in Your 60s coaching experience at sexyinyour60s.com. If this episode spoke to you, please consider following the podcast, leaving a review, or sharing it with someone who might need it right now. That's how these conversations continue to grow. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay curious, and stay boldly, beautifully sexy, exactly as you are.